This Indian grandmaster not only creates art on the chessboard, but he also does the same off the chessboard. He is a poet and a voracious reader. I'm talking about India's 47th grandmaster Himanshu Sharma. It is his birthday today. So fabulous birthday to Himanshu Sharma, and we wish him a great year ahead. Here I have a fascinating position from the game of Himanshu Sharma against Ravi Teja. Take a look at this position, make your move. While you do that, I will tell a little bit about Himanshu Sharma. So Himanshu Sharma's dad is also a chess player, has also been a former state champion in Haryana, and his mother and brother also encouraged Himanshu to play chess. And when I asked him about his best chess accomplishment, he gave a very interesting answer. He said that on the day when he is able to focus clearly on the chessboard without entertaining any non-chess thought, that he considers as one of his best chess accomplishments. So that means he is giving a lot of importance to being in the present moment while playing chess. And when I asked him about his openings, he said that he loved playing the Open Sicilians, and he's also one of the great practitioners of the exchange Lopez in India. And when I asked him about it, he told me that he first began his journey into e4 e5 by studying the Evans Gambit. Later he went to Lopez and then discovered the exchange Lopez. Now dear viewers, if you want to learn exchange variation with the white side, I think you can study some games of Himanshu Sharma. He does that regularly, and if you have a sound understanding of the resulting pawn structure in that endgame, you can benefit a lot by playing exchange variation. And when I asked him about his books, he mentioned the basic chess endings by Reuben Fine, and he's also read a lot of fiction and non-fiction books. He mentioned Amish Tripaঠি's Shiva trilogy, and also he's read books by Premchand and Acharya Chatur Sen. And then when I asked him about what fuels him, or is there any code by which he lives, he says that regarding his decisions, if you have to take a decision, think a lot about it, but once the decision is taken, don't think too much about it. And one of his favorite quotes is as follows: shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you will land among the stars. And he feels that curiosity has taken him to places. It's very important for a chess player to be curious, and also he analyzes all his games in order not to repeat the mistakes. And recently he told me that he was reading this book by Gulko, which he enjoyed. The title of the book is Lessons with a Grandmaster. And apart from being a poet, he also reads a lot of books based on what I've told you. And in this particular game, there's an interesting story. His friend Saurabh Khedekar told him that Himanshu, you are a positional player, but I don't get to see your tactical side. Now, this thought, inspired Himanshu Sharma to play a very aggressive and attacking game, and he dedicated this win to his friend Saurabh Khedekar. This is the position, and here Himanshu Sharma played the crushing knight takes e6. He feels that this is an astonishing piece sacrifice. White is breaking the base of the enemy play. It hurts deeply when something goes deeper in your chest. The same is happening with black. These are the comments of Himanshu Sharma. And after knight takes e6, f takes e6, rook takes e6 follows. If bishop e7 in this position, white follows it up with bishop d6, and this is a terrible pin. In the game after rook takes e6, Ravi Teja played king f7, and here comes the real blow. He plays an amazing rook d6 in this position. What this does is also helps white to give a check on d5 with the queen, and the d6 square, you can see the bishop can actually take it, but even that doesn't save the game for black. And after rook d6, his opponent played knight f6, but if black takes bishop into d6 in this position, the variation is queen d5, and after king e8, bishop d6, the black king is not able to castle. Of course, he's lost all the right. Also, there is no defense in this position. After queen f6, there is bishop d7 followed by bishop e5, and it's game over. So coming back to the game, after knight h f6, he plays rook takes d7, another exclaim, and after knight d7, he plays queen d5 check, And if the king goes to e7 in this position, it's just over after queen check and bishop b3. And in this position after queen d5, if king f6 is just mate in 1. So his opponent played king to e8 and he brings the last piece into the game with knight a3. Now rook is coming to e1 to say tada bye bye to the king. And after bishop e7, he plays rook e1. You see all of his white pieces. This knight could also potentially come to c4 if necessary. All the pieces are participating in the attack. And after rook f8, he plays bishop d6. And in this position, instead of bishop d6, after bishop d6, rook f5. In this position, Himanshu Sharma went for queen g8, but he mentions that a rook into e7 could have ended the game because queen e7, there is intermediate move bishop into d7 check. If queen d7, there is a mate that follows, and if king takes d7, there is queen b7 followed by queen e7, winning the game. But after queen g8, the advantage still remains with the white side, but the win is slightly delayed. After rook f8, he picked up the pawn, and in a matter of few moves, he eventually won the game. He got the rook into e7 and won this game. So amazing. This game was dedicated to Saurabh Khedekar. Next, we have the exchange variation of the Rilo pace, and I'm coming to the critical position after pawn to h4, b5. This is the kind of endgame, and I have a very interesting moment for you. You can all learn from the thought behind the move. After f3, bishop d7, knight d1, bishop e6. In this moment, he goes for knight c1 and says that white should not push the a3 pawn until black's pawn reaches up to a4. Now this is coming from experience. So he doesn't want to create any weakness on the queen side. As the quote goes, don't play on the side where your opponent is strong. In this case, by seeing the pawn majority, black has 4 pawns on the queen side, white has 3 pawns, and white's primary focus will be to create a pass pawn in the center, and that is what he does with the help of pawn bricks. I think this was the first critical moment, and the second critical moment comes after h6. In this position, Himanshu Sharma wants to initiate pawn bricks on the king side. He does it with a lot of subtlety. He plays knight g1. The knight has to jump, and knight is also one of his favorite chess pieces because he feels it can jump over mountains. And after knight c6, he plays g3 and then f4. The first pawn break comes here. Then comes another pawn break after knight f3, h5. Now he wants to facilitate the g4 break. And in order to do that, he goes knight h2 and then knight f1 and then comes g4. There is another amazing moment that comes after bishop c6. In this position, he plays amazing knight h1, and he feels this is double exclaim because this is one of the most difficult moves to play in the game and gives a permanent headache to his opponent because the knight is coming to g3. And after bd7, gh, gh, there followed knight d5 check, and after knight d5, e5, bg4, king e3. This knight is also ready to come to g3, and here his opponent resigned. The threat is, if let's say black plays bishop to d7, there is knight g3, and when you play bc4, eventually the knight will come to e4, forcing the black king to go away, and the e5 falls or else the c5 falls. So that was another interesting endgame drill and grind. And this is another position, it's white to move, which I found very instructive. Will you take the knight on c6? Will you play b6 check, or will you play something else? It's a nice puzzle. Take your time. Alright. And I'm going to reveal the answer now. The answer is rook e4. This is one of the best moves of the whole game according to Himanshu Sharma. And the problem with b takes c6 here, if you chose b6, the problem is black has g3. And then if you take let's say rook takes g3 in the position, there is king c6, and this is not so easy to defend. So after rook e5, g2, rook g5, there is rook h5, and eventually the game is heading towards a draw. So after rook takes h4, rook e4 is very important, and after rook h3 there follows king c4, and after g3 he plays rook g4, the rook behind the passer. And after knight e7, he plays rook g7, followed by rook takes d3. And then he went on to win this game because these two pawns are very powerful. So those were the games I had picked, and I would like to thank Himanshu Sharma for sending us 5 of his games. I've picked 3 and I've shared it with you. And I hope you all liked the video and the games. And thank you very much, Himanshu Sharma, for sending us your games. And dear viewers, I'll be back with another video soon. Until then, take care. Bye bye.